Mark, is Prigozhin a familiar figure in Russian history, or is he a kind of outlier? You've mentioned another parallel, the renegotiation of mercenary contracts. Is he a simple product of his time, or can you think of others? Assertive, because you use this language, the serfs. You know, some of the language in the book is a sort of historical, analytical language to place him. Hence my question.
No, I think that there is a very definite. Well, anyway, actually, I think two historical parallels worth drawing. One of them is that there's a constant conflict in Russian history between what we could call the boyars, in other words, the upper aristocrats, the most powerful figures, and the gentry. The people who are actually running the country, whether they're, a colonel of a regiment here or a large landowner there. And often the role of the Tsar, the monarch, has been to play these two social strata off against each other. He needs the boyars, he needs the gentry, but so long as he can basically keep them fighting against each other, then he can control the situation. Prigozhin was ultimately at best gentry. Shoigu was definitely a boyar. So I think there was an element of, for want of a better word, a kind of class relationship there. But more to the point, if one looks at the great rebellions which have characterized Russian history, particularly coming from or originating from Cossacks, people like Pugachev and the like, almost invariably these are people who were once servants of the state. They were loyal, and then they felt the state had betrayed them, had taken their loyalty for granted, had not observed the social contract, and thus they had turned against the state. And again, I think that's the tradition into which Prigozhin falls, of the loyal servant of the state who ultimately feels that the state has screwed him over and that he's not going to take it. And because often actually these rebellions were not about toppling the Tsar. They were about actually grievances that they wanted sorted, and that sense of, if I create enough trouble, the Tsar will have to deal with me. It's very much Prigozhin's thinking. But if I can just throw in, there's also one third posthumous historical parallel which has emerged. I mean, we've now seen, we're just over a year, since Prigozhin's death. And it's not just that Prigozhin's grave has become a shrine where people sort of leave flowers and things, but there's this constant claims, and particularly in social media amongst the so-called turbo patriots, the ultra-nationalist wings, of sightings of Prigozhin. He's been seen in Chad. He's been seen in the Central African Republic. He was seen for some reason at a school assembly in Tumen, whatever. Again, this speaks to a long tradition. I mean, if one thinks after the death of Ivan the Terrible, there were not one, not two, but three false Dimitris who claimed to be Ivan's younger son. No, I wasn't killed, when everyone thinks. And people flocked to him, not because they necessarily thought that they really were Prince Dmitri, but because they represented something different. Again, a chance to rebel legitimately, to think that you're rebelling, but you're doing so in the name of something that is kind of right. And again, I think this is what's interesting now. Prigozhin is being reinvented in certain circles as the ultimate patriot, the man who was willing to, as you said, speak truth to power, but also roll up his sleeves and do what the motherland needed without enriching himself, when, of course, actually he enriched himself on a massive scale.